Hey guys, how you doing? This is Mike and Shoshana Bowens
Hi.
from Making It Last Forever, and we're just coming back with a special message from Power Agreement Part 2. Woo, almost didn't get that out. So excited. Power Agreement Part 2. We also want to discuss Power Agreement. Like sometimes there's big decisions as a couple that you have to make, and one person may come to you and ask you, can you do this for me? Or your employee or a business person that you work with, like, can you do this? Can you work these days? It's important to remember that you're not single anymore. So instead of you just answering right there on the spot, like, okay, yeah, I'll do this, or yes, I'll buy this, or yes, I'll work these hours, or yes, I'll purchase this house or these items, you have to think about your spouse and ask them what do they think first. Because it's only right that because you're a unit, you're a couple, that you both come in agreement about the decision that you're getting ready to make. Because it's not only going to affect you, it's going to affect the both of you. And more times than not, we found in our own lives that in the early years when we've been married, we've been married 11 years now, but that we found that in the early years of marriage, that sometimes people will put us in a corner and ask us to do something and expect us to answer on the spot. And we learn very quickly that, no, I can't just answer this right now. Let me see what my wife says about this. Let me see what my husband says about this. Because guess what? It affects us. It affects our household entirely. And before you start to answer questions that people are asking or demanding from you, make sure you speak to your spouse about it first. Don't mean that you're a slave or you're not capable. It's just the respectful and the right thing to do.
Absolutely. It can cause contention. It can cause a lot of issues. It can cause a lot of frustration because you're doing something that is outside of what you both set your marriage, the guidelines and the boundaries of your marriage. It is so important. Like he said that earlier on in our marriage, we went through a lot of that. Where people was asking us different things and to do this and to come with them here and come with them there, and it's like, you can't really just get up and go or get up and do this because it's not right, it's not respectful, it's not fair to the next person, to your spouse, and so you have to honor that. And it's not about being controlled or controlling, it's about having honor and regard for your spouse. I'll put the spotlight on me. Earlier on in our marriage, I used to be the type of person, before we even got married, I used to be that type of person that, I would do anything for you, I would go to bat for you, and I'm still like that to a certain extent. I was like a doormat, I was like a pushover, even when I'm exhausted, even when I'm tired. I will do this and do that for you if you ask me, because that's the way that I was raised. Like, one back scratches the other. One hand scratches the other, I'm sorry. And that's the way that I was raised. And so I came into my marriage with that same mentality, with that same attitude, and I didn't really understand being married so much because I've been single all my life, didn't have really too many relationships, so that's the way that I was raised. And so when that happened, it caused confusion because I was now stepping out of a role that I was supposed to be in terms of honoring my spouse and, coming together in agreement and talking and discussing and communicating. Like, communication was a tough thing, I think, for us when we first got started, because we came from two different households that was very strong, dominant, very dominant.
Everything was an argument.
Yeah, in control.
Everything was an argument.
Exactly. So
you didn't make pancakes? God dang it, why you didn't make pancakes? I want, why you put syrup on it? I want maple syrup! Everything.
So it's like, we found that we were butting heads some of the times because I know for my husband, he more was in that role, but we both were kind of like butting heads all the time because I was like a pushover and he was not going to take it. He's that, he was just not that type of person to take anything that anybody throws at him. If he doesn't want to do something, he's just not going to do it. And I was like, if I didn't want to do something, I still would do it and complain about it to him. And that's not fair because then he would have to hear the brunt of it, and I should have just said no. So it's so important to come into agreement on every single thing. I mean, the simplest thing the simplest thing you have to come into agreement with, because it takes away all the confusion and it increases your communication. It really does. It helps you to communicate better.
Amen. And that's true. So it's like, you know, one thing we want to rehash, if you don't get anything out of this message that we said today, was that whatever decisions you're going to make and you're married, it's not just for you to make them alone.
Mm-hmm.
You and your spouse need to discuss it, need to talk about it, and communicate. And it's maybe a whole nother message that we do, communicate without getting upset with each other that you're arguing and fighting while you're trying to come into agreement. Because guess what? Not all the time are you going to agree on certain things, but you can agree to disagree.
Exactly.
Don't mean you have to fight about it. You can talk about it like civilized, grown people.
Adults.
Adults. And figure out the pros and cons and what works best.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Guys, you want to say
I'm
anything?
good.
I love this girl right here. Ooh, don't you love her hair right here? Some hairstyle.
Yeah, like my new hairdo.
Party.
I got my hair did.
You got her. Ooh, that's my boo. All right, guys. Until next time, be blessed.
Bless you guys.